right, this is Friday, 4 p.m., 4:05 here in Berlin, so I got a little bit late today, but I hope that you all can hear me now, and I hope that you all stayed here to hear a bit more about semantic conventions, OpenTelemetry semantic conventions. My name is Judah C. I'm a software engineer, and I've been doing telemetry systems for a while now, for a few years. And this is here Telemetry Drops. Telemetry Drops is a project, is a personal project, it's a hobby project from me, Judah C. And I bring it to you here every couple of weeks. Some content about OpenTelemetry, monitoring, observability. I do focus on OpenTelemetry because that's my specialty. That's what I've been doing since 2019 when the project started. That's my focus, and I've been part of OpenTelemetry project since then. At the very beginning, I was doing mostly collector. I started the operator, and I started a few things that I'm proud of, like OCB and a few components, OCB being the OpenTelemetry collector builder, and a few components for the collector as well. I've been a maintainer for the collector for a while. I'm not a maintainer anymore, I'm emeritus now. And I've been serving on the OpenTelemetry Governance Committee for, I think, the third term now. So for 5 years, perhaps, I don't know, for some time. In this project here, I do try to bring you updated information, deep dives into OpenTelemetry. So if you are expecting some basic content, then sure, of course, from time to time you can find those here, but I typically go a little bit deeper and I bring you knowledge that it might not exist yet, or it might be difficult to find out there. So what I like also to bring some guests here, some friends from the community. So we had a few people talking about things that I don't know or that I didn't know, like the isolation forest with Antoine. So that was a very cool one, or injector with Michele. So if you don't know about those components, go there in the archives for Telemetry Drops on YouTube and on LinkedIn, and you can find those recordings there. Now, Telemetry Drops is also a course that is available at telemetrydrops.com. So at telemetrydrops.com, you can find two variants there. So one is the OTel track. This is mostly recorded sessions. It's not fully done yet. So it is, we are recording based on the content that we have in Portuguese. So the Portuguese version is completely recorded and it's available. People have been using it for a couple of years now. We keep updating that, but now we are focusing on the English version and we're recording new content every week. We are a little bit behind, especially on operator content. So I am recording operator, but just this morning, we recorded a couple of modules for Weaver. So if you are subscribed to the OTel track on telemetrydrops.com, then you can expect Weaver lessons coming in soon. And we also have the OTCA practice exam at telemetrydrops.com. So go to telemetrydrops.com, and then up there you can find the OTCA practice exam. My promise here to you is, if you can take the practice exam 3 times, take it once, one a day for 3 days, then I can guarantee you that you can pass the OTCA, the official OTCA exam. So the OTCA practice exam that we have on our website is a little bit more difficult, or some people are saying it is way more difficult than the actual OTCA. And the reason is, if you can pass the free practice exam 3 times in a row with passing grades, then I can guarantee you that you can pass the OTCA. Now, at the very beginning, that was a promise that was aspirational. I was hoping this to be true, and the result is actually that. So I had people taking the practice exam on the website for free. Of course, it is free of charge. You can just go there and try it. Taking the practice exam, and they shared with me that the practice was more difficult than the real one. The real one, I think the latest that I've seen was Michael Hausenplatz. He shared on LinkedIn there that, Michael, if you are here, say hi. But he shared on LinkedIn, oh, there you go. So he's here. So he shared like 92% in what, 20 minutes, Michael? So that was really cool to see. Right. So, and I heard just a few hours ago also from a closed cohort of Dose de Telemetria, the Portuguese version, the Brazilian version of Telemetry Drops, I heard also from one of the participants there that the practice exam was harder than the actual OTC. So again, there you go. Cool. So this is one of the things that I wanted to bring to you. The second thing that I want to bring to you is the CFPs for KubeCon and Observability Day are now open. So if you are planning on sending a proposal for Observability Day or for KubeCon, then take a look. The links are going to be here, down here, but the CFPs are now open. So if you have that cool idea about what to talk, then just go there and make your proposals for Salt Lake City in November this year. We have a few other conferences coming up soon as well. So SignalsConf in Berlin is, I think the CFP is also open, and a few other conferences are also cool to watch. I don't remember which ones now from the top of my head. So those were the ones, but I do keep also the a list of conferences or a list of events open or being mentioned in the podcast that we are releasing every Sunday. So since the beginning of the year, or perhaps not beginning of the year, but since a few weeks or a couple of months, I've been doing a podcast totally generated by AI, folks. So yes, there might be some hallucinations there. I don't think I've seen a huge problem yet, which is good, but it is a podcast that I'm creating for myself, so that I can keep up with the developments of OpenTelemetry. So I was feeling a little bit lost. I was feeling a little bit outdated when it comes to OpenTelemetry. So I created that podcast for me. And I've been receiving some good feedback. So some people are liking that as well. And that's why I keep doing that one. But one of the things that I tried last week was to add a little bit more telemetry drops content there, like a deep dive on Weaver. Not quite sure that I'm going to keep doing that. I think I'm going to keep the podcast mostly as a community update, so things that you would only hear there. I need your feedback. I need you to tell me whether you like the OTel Drops podcast or you don't. If you leave comments there on Spotify, I can see them, I can reply to them, and I really enjoy when you make comments there. So there you go. So, and on that podcast, I also list a few things, a few resources that you might want to get to know. So events and things like that. Still on events, we are making OTel Nights global. So for the people here in Berlin, you know OTel Night. It is our event. It's one event every couple of months where we talk about OpenTelemetry. Last time we had very, very good discussions on the state of AI and observability and how to use agents to do instrumentation. We went into this direction, and this is a rabbit hole. Like we spent so much, we invested, and we had so much fun talking about that topic for quite some time. I want to bring the same experience elsewhere. So that's why I opened an issue with the CNCF. An issue is perhaps a bad word, but I opened a proposal with the CNCF in the CNCF repository, so that we can make OTel Nights global. And the first test for that is Amsterdam. So if you are in Amsterdam, or if you know somebody in Amsterdam, then let them know that we are having an OTel Night in Amsterdam on the May 20th, if I remember correctly. And on that day, we're going to have OTel Night with two sets of speakers. The first set of speakers, so two speakers from ING, the bank, and they're hosting us their ING Cedar offices. And so the first talk is by them, and the second one is from the good folks from Albert Heijn. So Bernardo and Ivan are going to be talking about collectors there as well. So you cannot miss it. It's OTel Nights is an event presented by practitioners for the most part, and this is not an exception for Amsterdam. So in Amsterdam, you're going to hear from people running collectors in production, running OpenTelemetry in production. You're going to hear from them, like the true thing. Nobody trying to sell you anything. It's a pure experience being shared among the participants. And it's not only the talks that are interesting, it's also the discussions that happen between the talks, right? So if you are in or near Amsterdam, or if you know somebody, tell them to go there, OTel Night Amsterdam, register on the website so that we know how many people are going to attend that. The next one is New York City. So if you are in or around New York City in June 20 26th, I think it is, of June, then OTel Night New York is for you, right? But more details on that to come. Let's get into the main topic for today, and the topic for today is semantic conventions. Let's talk about semantic conventions, shall we? If you have questions about semantic conventions, write it down. Write down here in the chat so that we can cover that specific topic. All right, so let's get started with what are semantic conventions, or what is the problem that we're solving? And before I do that, raise your virtual hands if you've known about semantic conventions before, if you know anything about semantic conventions. All right, keep your hands raised. And now I'm going to ask you something else. Do you have the confidence that you are, and in your company, that you are using semantic conventions the right way? And I can see all of your hands going down, because that's the question that I've asked during an OTel night some time ago, and I also asked during KubeCon in Amsterdam. Right. So even though people have heard about semantic conventions, they don't have the confidence that they are using in production. So this is a problem. And this is what I'm trying to help here in this conversation, so that we can bring awareness and we can bring arguments so that people use semantic conventions in production. All right, so what are then those so-called semantic conventions? In like 10 years ago or so, everybody was instrumenting their applications using their own names for their own things. Right, so if you were monitoring a specific service, HTTP service, the Python developers for that service, they would create a metric name that represents each individual HTTP request that is coming to that application, and they would be adding new attributes for those metrics following whatever they feel like they need. For instance, I could be creating a metric called http.requests, and then an attribute could be URL. Now, we talked to the Java developer, and then they get into the same requirements. So I need to understand how many requests per second I'm having for this specific service. And they create a new metric, and they create a new attribute. Chances are high that the names are going to be different. So naming things is one of the hardest problems in computer science, right? So we have different names for the same things. They are both trying to measure how many requests per second do we have for applications. Just happens that one is in Python, one is in Go, or one is in Java. A person that is monitoring those services in production, they would need to keep a mental map, or perhaps a document that is going to be outdated sometime, on which services have which metrics for which types of things. Like they would keep a doc somewhere with that knowledge. Like, oh, if I'm having trouble with a Python application, then those are the metrics that I should be looking at. Now, of course, nowadays we have metrics explorers in our tools so that we can see what are the metrics. But most of the time, I get confused, even myself, when I look at those metrics and I don't actually know what they mean, right? So I don't know if I select this metric, is this the one from Python or is this the one from Java? And then how can I get a list of only the ones for this Python application? Like, how can I do that? So this is the main problem that semantic conventions are solving. So semantic conventions, they are a list of the metric names or the telemetry names and attribute names and types and values that are defined on a canonical reference, on a canonical source. And that is the source of truth for how to name those things. So how do I name then HTTP metrics? Those are dictated by the semantic conventions HTTP, right? So we have a specific module within the semantic conventions for HTTP. And that one is one of the stable ones. And that one says how things should be done for HTTP requests. So HTTP requests from a server perspective and from a client perspective. So I know by looking as a system admin at 2 a.m. in the morning, now I know what I need to which metric to look at, no matter which services. Semantic conventions, they actually started before OpenTelemetry. So they started during the open tracing days. That was one of the points for open tracing back then. Was we should really have an API for instrumenting things. And then suddenly we realized that, semantic conventions, they are also very important. So the typical adoption of telemetry is we need an API and SDK on day one to instrument our things. And then on day 2, we are doing that. We are transmitting this data. So we have the wave 2. So we have a collector. We have OTLP. We are sending this data somewhere. But then the wave 3 is, okay, now we are receiving telemetry, but they're so different. The shape of telemetry is different. And that's what semantic conventions tries to solve. So we have a set of rules. We have so semantic conventions within OpenTelemetry, it is split into modules, or we have HTTP semantic conventions, we have database semantic conventions, we have RPC semantic conventions, we have GenAI semantic conventions, and so on and so forth. So domain experts, they come to OpenTelemetry and they agree as industry experts, they agree on what is a good name to establish for those things as a standard. The difference here is it's not a single company that is telling you how to do that. It is actually a set of experts from the industry with different views, different visions on the same things, so that they can debate, they can try to come up with scenarios that not only benefit their customers, but benefit their customers and other customers as well from other companies. Of course, we also have end users joining the project and coming up with and bringing their experiences and coming up with their ideas, and those ideas with the semantic conventions SIGs, or with the people, the individuals working directly on the semantic conventions. Once they are, so for every single semantic convention that we have a set of levels of stabilities, so we can define that a specific semantic convention is stable or in development or deprecated, so we can see what is the expectation for that specific semantic convention. And based on that expectation, we can then build things that scale for our users. Now imagine that we now have semantic conventions that are stable for HTTP. How beautiful is that? I can now build a dashboard. I can now build documentation for my thousands of developers and tell them how they can create dashboards for their microservices, for their HTTP microservices. And that documentation, that scales, right? Because I have the semantic conventions, I can tell people, I can give them a baseline to work with. I can give them a base dashboard, a base red metrics dashboard for their OTel metrics, and that would just work. Not only that, but in 2026, I would expect more, right? I would expect agents to be doing that work for me. So what modern tooling can do is, I can then just point to them. I can just point to Cloud Code, for instance, and say, here is a schema for HTTP metrics or a schema for HTTP spans. Let's build a dashboard following, following process perhaps, and following that specification on how to do dashboards, and get me the red dashboard for my service here, and create this in my repository. And then suddenly, you have all the knowledge that from experts on how to properly map, on how to properly create red dashboards as part of your development team. So that knowledge is now encoded as part of the semantic conventions, and it is scalable as using those agents, those tools, right? So I can apply the same knowledge now to thousands of services and use the semantic conventions as harness, as the standard, as the base layer to make sure that people don't get crazy, right? So this is what semantic conventions are in a nutshell. This is why we should care for them. Now, what are the caveats there with the semantic conventions? So we've had a few situations where we accepted donations from established standards, and one concrete example here is the elastic donation of ECS to OpenTelemetry, and that broke semantic conventions for existing OpenTelemetry users. So what happens here is, the risk is we adopt a non-stable semantic convention, and then that convention changes over time. Now, this is not desirable even by the community. So the people who break those semantic conventions, they don't do it for fun. I can guarantee you, they are also feel the pain as well, right? So they try not to break it often. They try not to break it at all. So this is the main point. But if they need to break, then it's for a very, very good reason. And the very, very good reason for that one, which was kind of traumatic to the community, and the repercussions are still felt today. That is the biggest advantage there was a standard that was well defined, well used in the community out there, ECS, right? So that's the common schema. So, but now HTTP, which is basically one of the things that we brought from ECS, is stable. So you can now use HTTP or all of the stable semantic conventions with the certainty that that is going to be kept for the future. So the risk, again, is adopting a non-stable semantic convention and that breaking your dashboards in the future. A few things that are very, very stable and they should not break anymore. I think a database is already stable, so we can use that. But other things, they are not that stable yet. They're on the road to stabilization. So GenAI would be one example where things are moving so fast right now that it's very hard to call it stable. But there's a lot of movement. So there's a lot of a will from the people to get those GenAI semantic conventions is stable in production, so that you can start building solutions on top of it. Not only dashboards. Dashboards is a boring example, but imagine what the AI agents that you are building with your coding tooling, coding agents. Imagine what those AI SREs that you are building yourself. Imagine what they can do once there is a canonical reference for the metric names and for the attributes. Now they could consume. They could get they could get the data that they need in a far better way, right? So if you are adopting the telemetry, if you're adopting the semantic conventions, then you definitely have all of your tooling afterwards has a better view, a better understanding of the things. So they speak the same language, and speaking the same language is the main point for the semantic conventions. All right, now I'm convinced about semantic conventions. How do I use them? So depending on the language that you have, that you use, you can import a specific package and use them as constants or function helpers. So in Go, for instance, you import the semconf package for a specific schema, a specific version. So semantic conventions, they are versioned. So every single, so you can import a specific package for a specific version of the schema, and then that contains a function, a helper function that sets the attributes or sets the names of the things using those helper functions and sets them in your span, in your metrics. For other languages, it is simply constants instead of helper functions, and you can then use those constants to set the attribute names or the metric names with your own values. Now, the semantic conventions, they also, some of them, they dictate how the value should be looking like. For instance, HTTP.URL, it should follow, or the HTTP URL, it should follow a specific format, and the query should follow a specific different format. Or args, command line args, it should contain an array of the values and so on. So those are the things that are determined by the semantic conventions. Now, what else am I missing here? So I'm talking about this, why we need semantic conventions, and we cover that, and how to use them. How to use them. So how do I know which semantic conventions we have? You should let me open here. It's OpenTelemetry.io. OpenTelemetry.io. At the top part of the website, we have there you go, specs and semantic conventions. We have docs, and within docs, we have specs and semantic conventions. And there you can see, let me share my screen here. Let's see if I can share that. There we are, here. And there you go, cool. All right, so of course I do use the dark theme here, but this is the main page. So you see that we talked about versioning, so 141.0, and we have a set of semantic conventions, right? So general rules for the semantic conventions, CI/CD semantic conventions, and so on and so forth. Database is one that I mentioned. We can answer whether it is stable or not. So it is mixed. So some of them are stable, some of them are not stable. So let's see. We have the following signals. So we have for spans, for metrics, let's see the DB metrics, and in DB metrics, database operations. So this one here is stable, for instance. So I can rely on db.client.operation.duration metric as a metric name, and I can expect those things here to exist for this metric. Right, so if I have this metric, then I should have a DB system name, I should have a DB collection name, and so on and so forth. So conditionally required. No? So we can see that here. And then all of the description. So imagine feeding that into a coding agent. Then the coding agent knows how to do the instrumentation for you. Right, so let me go back to you and stop sharing the screen. And how do I stop it here? And stop. Cool. Yes. Okay. So there you can find the semantic conventions. Now, what we are doing is a skill for coding agents that knows about semantic conventions. So head out to github.com/oligarden/OpenTelemetry. OpenTelemetry skills, I think it is, OpenTelemetry agent skills, there you go. And in there, you can find some of the skills that we are working on. This is not very public yet. And I think I'm mixing the channel, so I'm talking about Oligarden here at Telemetry Drops, but we are doing a skill there that you can use with your coding agents. Right, so you can use those coding agents, so you don't have to know all of the semantic conventions to use it with your coding agents. And actually, you can do it yourself, right? So you don't have to use it, the one that they are providing. So I'm here as Telemetry Drops that they, Oligarden, are providing on GitHub as open source. You can build your own. The tricky part is keeping that up to date, and the tricky part is having that specific to the versions that the code base is having right now. So. But those are things that you can work on your own, that you can fix it. But the idea is, imagine what you can do when you load that knowledge as a skill that you can use when doing instrumentation of your applications. All right, so to wrap it up, the semantic conventions, they exist as a canonical source, canonical reference for you to use with your applications. There are rules that are defined not by individuals, not by OpenTelemetry only, but by the industry as a whole. So people come to us to define what are the names and the attributes of the things that should be measured, that should be tracked. And those names, we agree on them as an industry so that people can build, not only the people operating systems at 2 a.m. in the morning, but also people building tooling around OpenTelemetry can build things that works with the whole ecosystem. So the moment that you adopt OpenTelemetry semantic conventions, you are not only helping yourself there, but you're also helping the ecosystem in strengthening the usage, in strengthening really the ecosystem as a whole, so that people can build tools, reliable tools, based on semantic conventions. And one of the good things about semantic conventions is those problems, they're not unique to OpenTelemetry itself, right? So the problem of naming, they are more prevalent. So fixing the problem for OpenTelemetry gave way to tooling that is now being used by people that are not defining semantic conventions for the whole industry. Tools like Weaver, they can be used to define your own semantic conventions within your application, within your company, so that all of your developers, all of the people instrumenting your applications, they can use the same terminology for the same things. Like at organization.id. So should it be organization.id or organization ID or just organization or organization_ID? You define, as part of a central observability team, you define the rules, and you use Weaver to establish those semantic conventions, and your software engineers can then consume that information. As a developer, I typically think, I don't care what is the name. I don't care what is the convention. I just care that there is one. Right? For a lot of things, I don't really care. Like if you as the people who created Go, if you tell me that brackets should be on the same line, that's fine. I'm fine with that. I'm tired of fighting new line or same line. So give me an opinion. Semantic conventions are the opinion, and at different levels. One is industry level, as part of OpenTelemetry semantic conventions, and at your company's level with Weaver when you define your own semantic conventions. I think that's basically the gist of it. What else can I say before we move on? I think this is pretty much it. We talked about semantic conventions, about Gen AI, HTTP, messaging, Kubernetes, CI/CD. They're still in development. We talked about databases. There, it's mixed. We talked about resource service attributes like service name. We didn't talk about that, but yes, we have resource. We have semantic conventions that define the basic resource, like what is the process, what is the machine that it's running on, which cloud region, and so on. It is part of that as well. What else am I missing? I think that's pretty much it. So that's how they're organized. We talked about that, why they exist, and what semantic conventions are. Cool. All right. So we covered everything in just over 30 minutes, so 33 minutes. I don't see any questions here in the chat. If you do have them, it's your last call for questions. And a final call here as well for the things that are coming up. So coming up, we have OTel Night in Amsterdam. We have OTel Night in New York in June. Amsterdam is now end of May, or in a couple of weeks actually. We have the KubeCon CFPs, so CFP, KubeCon, and Observability Day, and if you are planning on taking OTCA exam, if you're planning on taking the OTCA certification, then head out to telemetrydrops.com, go to the OTCA practice exam, take the practice, and see if you need some help. If you need some help, you can count on the content from either this channel here, so we have a lot of content here, but if you need more structured content, if you need a plan to study, then take a look at our Telemetry Drops OTel track. And I think we don't have any specializations planned for the moment, no cohorts for the specialization. So the only option really is the track. And now Carla is not here, so I can talk to you here without her pushing my ears here. So I have an idea of splitting the OTel track in three tracks. One would be a developer track. The second would be a platform engineering track. And the third is observability engineering track. The observability engineer is what we have right now, contains everything from instrumentation to operations of the collectors, of the operators, and Weaver, and so on and so forth. Everything that an observability engineer has to know these days, 2026, when it comes to OpenTelemetry. This is the observability engineering track. The other ones that I want to split into are developer, so focus more on instrumentation. So what are the APIs? How do I configure the SDK for specific languages? And then another one for platform engineering, so that people know how to configure operators, collectors, and manage them at scale. If that's interesting, let me know. Let's hope that Carla doesn't hear my idea, but this is what we want to do for the future. There you go. So if you haven't yet, go to Spotify, subscribe to OTel Drops, the podcast, and let me know your feedback. And see you in a couple of weeks.